How's it going? This is Hoiman, and today we're taking a look at the Totaku Dr. Cortex figure. So looking at Cortex's face, I feel that they have really captured the likeness of his character. Lots of emotion and is very expressive and just looks just like the character from pretty much all angles. So the eyes are nicely painted. The red shading around the eyes are really nice and clean for the most part, so they look really effective. And then the yellow on his skin is pretty much just a base yellow color, not really any shading going on, but it is really bold, so it really pops. And although I said the head is really well sculpted, there are quite a lot of seam lines that run across his head, so there's this really wide seam line that runs all the way across the top of his head, and then the seam line that runs down the sides of his head and then around his jaw as well. So it does kind of detract from the figure, and because it's on a bright color, it's quite noticeable. But the parts that are sculpted are really nice. So the eyebrows are nicely sculpted and painted. The N on his forehead is painted in a nice silver paint, so it really stands out from the figure. The hair is really nicely sculpted as well, but again, it does have the seam line that runs across, but because it's a dark color, it's not as noticeable. Moving down to his body, the coat is well sculpted, but there isn't really any shading going on, so the buttons and lines on his coat don't pop as much as I would like them to. And then you can see there is some creases in the folds, so it's nice attention to detail. His hands are well sculpted, but there is a bit of a seam line that runs across the fingers, so they are quite noticeable as well, but not as much as the seam lines on the head. And then the legs are simply sculpted, but they look very accurate to the character. And then the base itself is kind of this wooden texture, and funny enough, it actually has some shading on it as well, so it looks quite effective, but it is quite inconsistent. So you can see how some of the edges on the base aren't shaded, so they really just stand out and look quite odd. And then the base itself just has some legal stuff. So overall, I'd say this is a really solid looking figure of Cortex. It's really well sculpted, has a lot of expression, and it's just a really accurate representation of the character. And although the colors are pretty much just in their base colors with pretty much no shading except for the base, I do feel that it does still make the figure really pop because of its really bright and bold colors, and it's quite accurate to how he appears in the games as well. And although his legs are quite thin and he's supporting quite a lot of weight because of the size of his head, the legs themselves are actually really solid, so you shouldn't have any problem of him toppling over or breaking. So this figure overall feels really sturdy. So overall, if you are a fan of this character, then I can still recommend this figure. But that's my review. Thank you for watching and enjoy some pictures.